They tried to fine me, thousands of dollars, just for flying the American flag in my own yard. They called it a violation. They called it against the rules. But I called it what it was, an attack on freedom. And what happened next? I took them to court, and I won. It started on a windy spring morning. I walked out to my front yard with my coffee in one hand and the flag in the other. For me, raising the American flag wasn't a chore, it was a ritual. I had done it every day since my father passed away. He was a veteran, a man who taught me that freedom was never free. He used to tell me, "Son, this flag isn't just fabric, it's a promise." And so, every morning, I lifted that promise into the sky. But on that morning, as I saluted the stars and stripes, a man in a crisp polo shirt marched up the sidewalk. His name was Richard, the president of HOA. His expression was cold, his voice sharp. "You can't have that flag here," he barked. I frowned. "What do you mean? It's the American flag." Richard crossed his arms. "It doesn't matter. The HOA rules state, no exterior decorations unless approved. Your flag is a violation." I thought he was joking. "You're saying the American flag needs HOA approval. Rules are rules," he said flatly. "Take it down or face fines." I laughed in disbelief. But Richard wasn't laughing. He handed me a paper. It was a violation notice. Fine. $200 per day until the flag was removed. My stomach dropped. I stood there, flagpole casting a shadow across my yard, and felt something inside me crack. How could they call this, a symbol of sacrifice, unity, love for country, a violation? That night, I sat at the dinner table with my wife and daughter. The notice lay in the middle of the table like a poison. "They can't do this," my wife said, shaking her head. "It's wrong." My daughter, only 10 years old, looked up at me with wide, worried eyes. "Daddy, are they gonna take our flag away?" My throat tightened. I reached across, holding her small hand. "No, sweetheart. No one can take that away from us." But inside, doubt ate at me. The fines were already piling up. $200 today, $400 tomorrow. By the end of the month, it would be thousands. Neighbors started whispering. Some avoided eye contact, scared of the HOA. Others gave me sympathetic smiles, but no one dared to openly support me. Richard and the board had too much power. Every morning, I still raised the flag. But every night, as I opened another violation notice, my spirit broke a little more. Until one night, standing on my porch, I whispered into the dark sky, "Dad, what would you do?" And I swear I felt it, his voice in my heart. "Son, when someone tries to take what's right, you don't bow down. You fight." That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just going to resist. I was going to fight them, with everything I had. The next morning, I gathered every violation notice and stacked them neatly. Then I took a deep breath and made a phone call, to a lawyer. Her name was Sarah. Sharp, passionate, relentless. When I told her what happened, she didn't hesitate. "They can't ban you from flying the American flag. Federal law protects your right. We're taking this to court." Court. The word scared me. I wasn't a fighter. I wasn't rich. I was just a man who loved his family, his country, and the flag that bound them together. But I had no choice. The HOA doubled down. Richard and his board painted me as rebellious, disruptive, even dangerous. They claimed my flag was a political statement that threatened neighborhood harmony. The hypocrisy made my blood boil. They had no problem with garden gnomes, tacky pink flamingos, or Christmas inflatables, but my flag. That was where they drew the line. Neighbors grew divided. Some whispered encouragement, "We're rooting for you." Others sided with the HOA, too scared to speak against them. I felt like an outcast in my own street. The fines kept piling up. By the time our court date arrived, the HOA claimed I owed over $10,000. I'll never forget the morning of the trial. I wore my father's old tie, the one he used to wear on Veterans Day. My daughter hugged me before I left. "Daddy," she whispered, "be brave." In court, the HOA's lawyer droned on about rules, about contracts, about how I had signed the agreement when I bought my house. He made me sound like a criminal. But then Sarah stood. Her voice was clear, strong, like a bell. "Your Honor," she said, "this is not about decorations. This is about rights. Federal law, the Freedom to Display the American Flag Act of 2005, guarantees every homeowner the right to display the flag. This board tried to strip my client of a freedom that belongs to every American. She held up one of the violation letters. They fined him for honoring his father, a veteran. They threatened him for raising the flag his brother fought under in Afghanistan. They bullied him for showing love for his country. And all because of what? Control, power, ego. The courtroom was silent. Even the judge leaned forward, eyes heavy with thought. Then it was my turn. Sarah handed me the folded flag that had draped my father's coffin. My hands shook as I held it up. This flag, I said, voice cracking, isn't about politics. It isn't about rules. It's about my dad, my brother, every man and woman who gave their life so we could live free. If I can't fly this flag, then what do their sacrifices even mean? Tears filled my daughter's eyes as she watched from the benches. When I finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even the judge's voice trembled as he announced, "The HOA does not have the authority to prohibit the display of the American flag. All fines are dismissed. The plaintiff may continue to fly his flag freely." I had won. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt 10 feet tall. My wife squeezed my hand, my daughter ran into my arms, and even strangers patted me on the back. The story had spread, local news covered it, and soon it was on national headlines. Homeowner wins against HOA over American flag. The community changed overnight. Neighbors who had once been silent now flew flags of their own. Driveways sprouted poles, porches waved red, white, and blue. My street, once gray and cold under the HOA's grip, now glowed with color, pride, and unity. Even Richard had to face the music. At the next HOA meeting, dozens of families stood up to him. "We won't be bullied anymore," they said. His power crumbled. Within months, he resigned. But the greatest moment came on Memorial Day. I stood in my yard, raising my flag just like I always had. But this time, I wasn't alone. The entire neighborhood joined me. Flags rippled on every house. Children saluted, veterans stood tall, and families sang together. As the flag reached the top of the pole, I felt my father's presence. My brother's sacrifice. Every fallen soldier who gave us this right. And I realized, this fight was never just about me. It was about all of us. About love. About justice. About the promise that no HOA, no board, no bully could ever erase. Later that night, my daughter curled up beside me. "Daddy," she whispered, "you won." I kissed her forehead. "No, sweetheart, we won. Everyone who loves this country, won." And as I looked at the flag, glowing in the night sky under the spotlight, I knew the truth. Justice had been served, love had triumphed, and freedom was still ours to keep.